Imagine unlocking a hidden superpower that makes learning anything not only possible, but easier and more enjoyable. What if you could stop struggling and start mastering skills that seemed out of reach? That's what by Sandra Yancey McGuire promises. This isn't just another self-help book, it's a guide to understanding and transforming how you learn forever. Let's dive into the powerful concepts, inspiring stories, and practical steps McGuire shares to help you harness this ability and transform your life. McGuire's journey to help students began in a college classroom where she saw smart students struggling despite hours of study. Their problem wasn't a lack of intelligence, it was a lack of understanding about how to learn. Inspired by her students, McGuire dedicated her life to helping people unlock their learning potential, and this book is packed with the insights she gained along the way. Her secret? Metacognition, or thinking about your thinking, which she calls the ultimate tool for success in learning. One story McGuire shares that really brings metacognition to life is about a chemistry student who felt doomed to fail, despite studying for hours. When McGuire asked him he studied, she found out he was passively rereading notes and memorizing terms without any real engagement. She taught him to approach his learning differently. First by explaining concepts to himself out loud, then by teaching back what he learned as if he were the instructor. This approach transformed his results because he was now actively involved in his learning process, thinking critically about the material and connecting it to things he already knew. And guess what? His grades skyrocketed. To help people understand the stages of successful learning, McGuire introduces the Learning Success Pyramid, which includes 4 crucial pillars: motivation, attitude, study habits, and learning strategies. Motivation is the fuel that drives your learning. Without a clear why, it's easy to lose focus and momentum. Attitude involves adopting a big part of this is believing that you improve and that learning isn't limited by talent. Study habits are about consistency, having a study routine, taking breaks, and revisiting material regularly. Learning strategies take it to the next level. Rather than passively reviewing, McGuire encourages students to use techniques that involve summarizing, questioning, and visualizing the content. Through this framework, McGuire shows how each layer builds upon the other, making learning feel like climbing a ladder instead of scaling a wall. One of the most transformational parts of the book is when McGuire breaks down Bloom's taxonomy, a hierarchy of cognitive skills. Think of it as levels of engagement in learning. At the bottom, you have remembering and understanding. This is the foundation, knowing facts and basic ideas. Moving up, you reach applying and analyzing, where you use and break down concepts. At the top are evaluating and creating, the highest forms of learning where you critique, innovate, and teach what you've learned. McGuire encourages students to reach for the top of this pyramid. For instance, a biology student could test their understanding not just by memorizing terms, but by explaining a process in simple language or comparing it to something familiar. By aiming for these top levels, students actively engage and retain information for the long term, shifting from short-term memorization to real understanding. McGuire's teach-back method is a game changer. Imagine this. You're studying a complex concept, and instead of passively reading, you decide to explain it to an imaginary friend. One student tried this with a tough chemistry concept. As he spoke, he realized the areas he didn't fully understand and went back to refine his knowledge. This process of explaining in simple terms forced him to clarify his own thoughts, reinforcing what he knew and exposing gaps. It's like studying with a mirror. You can see what you truly understand and what needs work. Another powerful strategy is chunking information and using mind maps to make learning more manageable. McGuire suggests breaking information into smaller parts and creating a visual map of how each idea connects. One student, overwhelmed by information overload, found this approach life-changing. By grouping concepts together and creating a mind map, she transformed her scattered notes into a clear, visual guide. This method simplifies complex material, making it easier to review and connect different ideas. McGuire introduces the Feynman technique, where you break down complex topics and explain them as if teaching a 5-year-old. Named after physicist Richard Feynman, this method challenges you to simplify a concept enough to teach it to someone else. One student applied this to her anatomy studies, discovering that by breaking down processes into simple language, she remembered them better and could even teach them to classmates with ease. This technique has become a go-to for students wanting to master material fast. For long-term retention, McGuire recommends spaced repetition. Instead of cramming, you revisit material over gradually increasing intervals. One student, after struggling to retain information, implemented this by reviewing her notes every few days. By the time her exams came around, she wasn't scrambling to relearn everything because the spaced practice helped lock it into her memory. This strategy transforms learning into a layered, reinforced process instead of a short-lived memory dump. McGuire also tackles mental barriers like fear of failure. She recounts a story of a student who felt hopeless after failing several tests. McGuire taught her about the belief in one's ability to succeed. Combined with a growth mindset, this belief transformed the student's outlook. With encouragement, she began to see failure as a stepping stone rather than a dead end. She adjusted her study methods using metacognitive techniques and engaging more actively with material. The results were transformative. Not only did her grades improve, but so did her confidence. Finally, McGuire emphasizes the importance of reflection. After each study session, she encourages students to ask themselves. One student applied this and discovered that reflecting helped her see what strategies worked best for her and kept her from making the same mistakes twice. McGuire's book is a blueprint for mastering the art of learning. Her stories show us that learning isn't just about what we study, but how we study it. If there's one takeaway, it's that anyone can learn anything by understanding how they learn. So, are you ready to unlock your potential and take control of your learning journey? Try one of these methods today. Whether it's using the Feynman technique, creating a mind map, or simply reflecting on what you learned, give it a try and watch as learning becomes easier, more enjoyable, and ultimately transformational. If you're ready to dive deeper, check out the link in the description to get your own copy of Teach Yourself How to Learn by Sandra Yancey McGuire. Transform your life by transforming how you learn starting now.